If you stop for every barking dog, you will never get to where you want to go. That was a great quote I heard today from Katie Chonacas, a long-time Hollywood actor, artist, musician, who also does a spot of DJing and writes her own poems and books. Katie has started to release her work as NFTs, and we talk a lot about that, and also how Hollywood is warming up to NFTs, and NFTs are starting to put the power back into creators' hands. Enjoyed the episode.
Hey, Misty.
My set doesn't start for an hour.
Well, we're not here as fans.
What do you want from me?
We need your help. Peter has another girl.
Save your breath. We're all forced to do things to survive. I moved on. Excuse me. This is worth $60,000. Doesn't that get us past attempted?
Where's the rock at? Come on. Who's got the kibble?
You want a hit?
Yes.
Ready to order, gentlemen?
I'm not gonna eat. I'm not hungry.
What are you doing? Come on, sit down.
For you, sir?
Me?
I'll take the meal.
The veal.
Yeah.
Okay, the veal it is. Thank you. I've been so worried about you. Are you okay? Oh my God, you don't look okay. Here, have a seat. Sit. Do you want to lay low and go brunette for a while? Yeah. Well, we ran into a little bit of a problem. My brother, he was supposed to pick up the keg, but he bailed on me.
Ah, that sucks.
Yeah. So, we were wondering if maybe you guys could help us out.
No, I don't. No. Jeez, I don't think that's such a good idea.
This would be the coolest thing that anyone's ever done for us. Ever. I want to learn about my grandmother. My thing is, just because someone's manic depressive doesn't mean the family has to, hide her. If someone took my poetry away, I would totally be in a mental hospital.
You would totally be in law school.
2 older brothers and a father watching my every move. I'm stuck here,
Lucas was off limits.
just like in the show. Lucas was Romeo, and I was Juliet.
Welcome to Castoshi, and today we have Katie Chonacas, and she is an actress, an author, an artist, a musician. I think you're many things, Katie. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and what your project is in crypto?
Sure. Ever since I was a child, everyone's called me a Renaissance person, so I'm just so interested in so many different things. And thank you so much for having me. And, for the person tuning in and listening, thank you for watching and listening and being here. It really, really means a lot. So my journey into crypto was in 2018, and it was just so above my head. I didn't know what was going on. And I had all these different friends, and one invited me to DJ an event that was happening downtown LA. So I showed up, and it was all public art putting it on, and they had me DJ. And as a DJ, you go the day before, you set up, you check out the electronics, the sound check, everything like that. And there were artists there putting up their artwork, their physical artwork. And I'm like, yo, what's going on here? And they're like, oh yeah, it's an event, 1111 funds. And they were raising funds for the blockchain. And they're like, oh, you're a physical painter too? Bring your work. So they gave me a wall of 7 of my pieces. And so the next day before the event, I put up 7 of my physical paintings, and I'm DJing the event. So my first blockchain event and welcoming into crypto, I'm DJing and showing off 7 of my physical paintings with other NFT artists. I had no idea. So then I'm invited to all these Hollywood events, where Larry King was speaking, the Gear Foundation, and how it was environmentally friendly. And then I was curating dinners with influencers, with private jet companies, and offering people the guests when they come to hear about what's happening. And then I would curate someone would win a private jet experience with the guest, right? And it was the the Scorpion King, I think that show that was on CBS for a long time, the creator came, and he's the one that won with the guests. And then I was like flown to New York, and I was at the Baccarat, and I was like hosting dinners, and they were like $40,000 dinners, and we were just inviting all these people to come, and it was like insane. And they were people from Asia, and they were raising all these funds for the blockchains, and they would bring in these huge, massive TVs, right? And they would show video games and sports, and they were showing like the way of like the world. And this was in 2018. So then my life took me on a journey. And then during, last year of 2021 in March, like I got caught of the buzz of Blau revolutionizing the music industry, right? And people had.
Can you talk a bit about that, about revolutionizing the music industry, just for the viewers who don't know what we're talking about?
Oh, sure. His name's Justin. He's from Las Vegas. He goes by Blau. He's a DJ. His name is spelled 3LAU. He took an album from 3 years prior and put it for auction on the blockchain. And it went for, I think, over 11 million or over 16 million. And I mean, I was watching the auction and who was the highest bidder, and I was just clocking the whole thing. And I was like, oh, I get it. Like, I totally get it. And then a few weeks later, Grimes, she from Toronto, from Canada, she released her album on Nifty Gateway, and it was an auction and went for over 6 million. And I was just, from that point on, I started digital mining with Pi. Are you familiar with Pi, digital mining, Nicholas? Pi? Oh, I can send you a code, but I've been mining. So it's digital mining, like how people used to go to like California to like do physical mining for the gold rush. These are people with like technology where you can physically mine now, right? And is this like
Bitcoin mining for Pi coins? Or
that's a very good question. And I don't think it's on Bitcoin. I should definitely know what it's on, since I've been doing it for a year and a half. No,
it sounds similar. It sounds similar.
So
yeah.
Pi. There's Pi Day, and it's purple and gold. That's the colors in the logo of the Pi. So Nicholas, he's Greek. I'm Greek. He went to Stanford, and I was told about Pi. And a lot of people in India and a lot of people in Asia like caught on quick to it. And I joined when there was like 16 million people in March of 2021, and now there's over 36 million people on it.
36 million, wow.
Yeah, because you can see how many people are on it. And so what I was able to do was stake and hold and lock up my pies. So you do that, and then you earn more. So like, for example, when I don't want to get too all over the place, but if you have stacks, STACKS, stacks,
STX coin,
STX stacks. If you have stacks, they're on Bitcoin, and so you earn. If you hold, then you can actually earn Bitcoin by being with stacks. So I personally, not financial advice, but I personally like the people and the community. They're very ethical, and the people I create with, were the very first ones to do the accelerator program. So if you go to, my website, she's all over the place. Last week I just had Brittany Laughlin. She's at Bitcoin Unleashed right now in Miami. And she was on my podcast, and she's the executive director. And she would probably be a guest. I can introduce you if you want her on, but she'd be a great guest. But she's the executive director of the Stacks Foundation. And so they have.
I used to own Stacks, by the way. I used to have a holding of Stacks. So I know it's basically, it's what they've built the Bitcoin and Miami coins on, isn't it? It's that.
Yeah. Miami, the Miami coin. I was there in December for Miami coin. That's where I met Brittany, actually. And she was just on my podcast. She said they raised over $30 million in crypto for the city, and they already spent $5 million on, people who are homeless and building homes there. And everyone in the city, they actually get a piece of that pot, right, of the 30 million and more that they're growing. The community, it goes back to the community. So other cities are starting to do it too. But if you want to put in the show notes, that's a fabulous episode, definitely to listen. And she gives a lot of value and information of what they're offering. Yeah. And I can introduce you to her if you want to. She's great. But kind of like circling back around, 11/11. So then March of 2021, I released the first love poem on the blockchain. I'm a poet. So I was the first artist to release a love poem on the blockchain, coupled with a Polaroid, which is the original Polaroid by Polaroid that was discontinued in 2001. And I curated that with my friend Robert Sturman, who did the image of me. And it's the Polaroid with the poem. And that was really prolific. And then in November 11/11 of 2021, I released an album all about, exploring divine femininity and claiming and reclaiming one's power. Excuse me. And I released it.
Just
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. So what happened was, I released it everywhere as a musician would in Web 2, like on all streaming platforms. But I also dropped it on OpenSea on the blockchain 11. And so I was at Art Basel in December 2021, and Blake Jameson, who's an NFT artist, curator, and collector, he picked up 2 of my music NFTs. So I am one of the very first, not only humans to sell music NFTs, but female identifying human too, and non-binary. Yeah.
That's so interesting because I was speaking to Arvin Kamshay recently, and he said that very few individual artists have realized that they can publish their music via NFTs yet.
I know, and I'm so proud, because I'm like not tooting my own horn, but I'm just so enamored and proud, because I always knew everyone has their purpose and everyone has amazing things, attributed to their own lives, whether we honored it or not. And I have, been very humbled and in gratitude of living and having this experience in life. And then, but I just have always heard it and just always known that I was supposed to be a part of some pretty prolific things. And I have, and I'm very grateful. But this is a whole new zest of life that's really exciting. And so to be the first artist to put a love poem on the blockchain, right? To be one of the very first artists to sell music NFTs when more than half the artists don't even know about it yet. And I've already sold 2. So it's I've always really been ahead of the curve. On 4/11, I'm actually dropping my podcast as NFTs. So I wanted to do it a year and a half ago. And I'm doing it now, or not a year and a half ago, about a year ago. But I'm finally doing it now. So the first 10 episodes I'm dropping it on 4/11. So what happened was, after Art Basel, after Blake Jameson bought 2 of my music NFTs, I met a full team of women, right? Jessica, who's the creative director of Vayner NFT, Brittany, who's with Stacks, and Ala.
Did you say Vayner NFT? You mean the Vaynerchuk NFT?
Yeah. Jessica.
Gary
She'll be
Vaynerchuk,
yeah. Jessica, she's the creative director for Vayner NFT.
Okay, yeah.
So she's speaking this weekend at NFT San Diego too. So I'll see her. So I'm really excited about that. So we're a part of the same collective in some ways. So she always gives a lot of valuable information and insight and pays it forward. And she's just very classy, really nice person. And so when I met the team of ladies, and they saw me and they're like, oh my gosh. And they're like, oh, you're into fashion, you're an actor, you're a voiceover, or you're a podcaster, all these things. It's all this ball of energy. And they're like, okay, we want to, hey, Lairs, we want to work with you. We want to honor you and put everything you've done. We want to properly introduce you to the blockchain. So I worked with the strategy team with Marina and Justin and Ala, and they decided. This was in December. And so in January, we made a commitment that we're doing a monthly project until 2023. So I have a monthly drop on Hey Lair every single month. And I can tell you about those. But the first one was how do we introduce, me to the blockchain? So Katie Chonacas on the blockchain. So we took everything I do, and then we narrowed it down to the 11 pillars of Katie Chonacas. Then there's 2 NFTs for each one. So there's 22 NFTs. They're 11. It's Hero Wallet, HIRO. It's on Stacks, which is Bitcoin. We talked about it too. So you can stake and hold. So not only are you staking and holding, but you have an NFT, and when an NFT could go for 200 or 400 or whatever. But then let's say someone's on a TV show, that could go to $20,000 or $40,000 or even more. So it's fun having the creative aspect of a non-fungible token of an NFT of an artist, which could be a podcast or a movie or a short film or music, or just an image of photography, whatever it is, but to actually own the digital asset. And then in addition to having the coin, like, the currency, I think it's more fun, right? Because like, I know some people are into it where they're just like into the currencies and they're not doing the creative art part of it. But for me, I'm like Blake Jameson, where it's like, not only am I an NFT artist, but I collect. I mean, I have, over 40 pieces of different artists that I've collected. And it's fun, and
physical art or NFTs?
They're digital assets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about your collections? Because
sure.
I know we had a schedule before we started, but it's nice to know all of, at some point I want to know about your background, but when you're selling your NFT art, do you have like a road? You said you're going till next year, where you're going to be selling the work. But I mean, I know that a lot of NFTs started out as digital, like artwork.
Yeah.
But now they're almost turning into like a ticketing system. So, for example, if someone has your work, like maybe they'll be part of a monthly call with you,
right?
Or maybe there's some other special perks they get. Do you have that sort of thing in your roadmap?
Yeah, so I'm building those out, and yes, I have for some of them. They're called utilities. So it's about being a part of the community. So I'm creating my generative project now, which will have a roadmap of utilities, and we could talk about that. But the first one, January, was the 11 Pillars of Katie Chonacas, and then the second one is and some of them I put attributes where it's like, there's unlockables where it's like, maybe you'll get a shout out on my podcast, or like a signed copy of my poetry book, A Lover's Fairy Tale, or like like something from one of my merch lines, which is available on my website, right? So some of the NFTs I own were able, like Sabat, where with my Tokyo Punks, were able to have licensing rights, right? So I made like a whole merch line, and I can sell them, and it's like my logo, and we can make money off them. So that's like the utility that comes along with the digital, the assets, the NFTs. So like, I'm gifting, like, oh, okay, like maybe I'll gift you something from my merch line. So there are attributes with every single NFT that I have thus far. The second collection was in February. I dropped love poems on the blockchain, the rest of my love poems from A Lover's Fairy Tale. March, not only am I NFT artist, but I onboard people into Web3. I'm a community builder, and I curated my NFT artist friends who were female identifying, all genders. And on International Women's Day on March 8th, I dropped a collaboration, but it's not just for March, and it's not just for that day, it's ongoing. So 20% of each NFT proceeds goes to the Ukraine crisis of what's happening. And so that I can honor other NFT artists and be a part of a collaborative. So when they're sharing, everyone's sharing each other's work. And it's not just about making money. Like, money's cool, but it's also about community and the energy and the essence of the intention that we put out, and it's shape shifting our now and hopefully our near future. So this is the intention on a deep rooted level. So not only me having my art, but also producing and having other people be a part of the collective and onboarding people, really easily on Hailair. That's just one marketplace. And I think it's really important to be on multiple marketplaces to be seen and heard. And then, so that was March. And then my April collection is, I mentioned I'm dropping 10 episodes, the first 10 episodes of my podcast on Hailair. And then in May, for Mental Health Awareness Month, I'm releasing never before seen photos that no one would ever want to purchase, or no one would ever want to repurpose or put them on social media. But I'm going to show a side of me that's very vulnerable that people haven't seen, to show them certain struggles that I was going through, and that what I learned. So and then 30% of those proceeds will go to the Mental Health Alliance, like to, support people with mental health. So every single one of my collections, percent goes to 20% or 30% goes to something that's apropos of the collection and who's a part of the collection, and we agree upon it as like a collective. And then
you agree on it as a collective. Who would you define as part of the collective? Is the people who hold your NFTs, or?
Well, for example, like Robert Sturman, who did all the beautiful Polaroids for my poetry book, Lover's Fairy Tale. And he's like, yeah, do whatever you want with it. And he doesn't have children, but he has animals. And he's always like rescuing animals. So in this situation, I said, where would you like to donate some of the proceeds? And he said, PETA or the Gentle Barn. So he said, one of those. So I'm like, okay, so that's where it'll go, in honor of his love as an artist and a humanitarian and understanding, paying it forward. So that's what we chose to do for that specific collection. And so those are some of my collections right now. And like, I have them rolled out through 2023 with Hey Lair. But I'm also doing a generative project with my friend Sunny, and we're curating that right now. He was an art director on Matrix and Star Wars. And he's amazing, a digital artist. And so we're going to do a generative project together. And so that I'll have a roadmap like on a proper website with utilities and things of that nature.
It's quite interesting listening, because you were quite successful before you got into the blockchain. And what advice would you, because I think one of the things that I'm interested with in NFTs is there's a lot of people out there who might see you and say, yeah, but she's doing NFTs, but she had success before she was into NFTs. What would you say to those people?
Do not compare. Comparison's a death threat. I mean, I could literally bare bones just isolate and strip off any illusion or thing that I know I've done or that you think I've done, and just be here now and just be at one with the universe, and none of it matters. It's an illusion. It was a moment in time and things happen, but it can never be recreated the way that it was. And the gift and the purpose of life is to create something out of nothing. It's not about the end result. It's actually about creating. And if we can't control of how it's going to look, we can have a vision, a target of our intention of what we want. And then we need to put it into the universe's hand. And so we can really get creative and really explore and discover. And we don't have to do it alone. We can go on a journey of curiosity to figure out what that is. But then when we have a collective of people doing it with us, it doesn't have to be a lot of people, but a couple people. So we don't have to do it alone. It's more fun. And we get to learn and grow with one another. So more patience and kindness with ourselves first. And then how we treat ourselves sets the bar of how we allow other people to treat us. And for the journey of the project, then, be more playful and fun. So if you start with the good intentions and start with knowing certain red flags of like who you want to interact with and what you don't want, then you can be assertive and raise your voice and be true to yourself and authentic with self. And that takes a lot of work.
I like that, by the way, what you said, because I think a lot of people have asked me about NFTs and digital art, and I see there's a lot of people who before digital art, they didn't want to put the work in because there's still a lot of work to put in.
Yeah,
and
a lot.
There's also a lot of people who just want to do it because they want to make a quick buck. And I mean, you said it's about, making the community. And I agree with that, because I think with any of these projects are all about community building, for people who have like shared values or a shared vision. And it could be nice to make money, but it doesn't always happen, So I think the people who are going into it just to make money, I think it's it's not for the right reason, It would be nice, but
it shows their character, it shows their cards, and some may have success and they may not, and it's just their lesson to learn. They may have some success from it, and they might be good intentions, and they may have success, and they cut themselves short by cutting other people short, and it gives it that reputation, but that's a part of life. But when you're grounded in, your core with yourself, and then with the community of people who are, doing good and having the intentions, the light's gonna soar through all of the other muck. But it's a part of life. There's the yin, there's the yang, there's the light, there's the dark, there's all of it. And that's how we all learn and grow. It's not blaming or shaming or, it's just like, oh, wow, what is this? The thing is, how quickly can we clean it up, and how do we do that?
I think, I agree with that. I think listening to because this has been your story for the last 4 years almost, from what you said. So it seems like like a lot of the stuff that's going on there that you were describing about the events. I mean, it's a lot more than is generally happening here in Europe. I mean, here most people, they still don't really know what blockchain and NFTs are and stuff like that, and most people still talk very negative about anything crypto.
Yeah.
Is it the same in the States, or is it just that your circle you're in
Oh,
is into this?
oh no, I mean, some people think it's a scam, and they just see what they see on the news, and of course the news is going to say like the worst thing possible and put fear into people, and so in what they read, so a lot of people just don't get it because it's psychological. You have to, it's like planting a seed, and it's being conditioned by what society and what we've learned. So we only know what we already know, right? So when there's that space on the canvas that's blank, it's for the unknown to create, right? To create a new world. So we can actually have the power to do that. And we as humans have the power to do that. And we have the power when we do it collectively. And I've always been that way because my dad was a cross country runner and he turned me on to cross country running. So what I do as an individual affects the whole team. And I got my individual score, but then I also got a team score. Right. And so it's like nourishing, drinking water, what I put into my body the night before a race, and then mentally preparing and getting rest. And how do you prep your mind, body, spirit for the race? For when, the trigger goes off and then you go and you have, 5K, 3.1 miles to, what you do before that, all the preparation comes down to that, 18, 19, 20 minutes in a race, or 21, 22, depending on your, your scores. But it's that specific. So I like to have, I'm so grateful to have more of a sports mentality when it comes to things, because I feel like, it's like a garden and you sow seeds and you nourish it. And
Very positive attitude. Yeah.
Every 3 months you come in and you do a rake. You say, oh, this is a dud, but not like anger, like, oh, this is a dud. And you get mad. It's just like, oh, this is a dud. Like the more seeds you plant, the more duds you're going to have. But it's like, great, get rid of them. And then just keep nourishing the ones that are blossoming, and then turn over the soil and sow more seeds. So it's kind of like the garden of life.
So do you just ignore the people who like the naysayers who
yes,
like,
1,000. They don't exist. I don't just, it's not like I'm obnoxiously ignoring you. Just, Dr. John Janquish, he's partners with Tony Robbins. He was on my podcast. She's all over the place. He talked about one of his favorite quotes by Churchill, and I'm gonna fragment the quote, but it was something like, if you stop at every barking dog, you're never going to get to where you want to go. So everyone who's just, you know what I mean? If you stop and listen to everyone, it's just going to distract you from your goals.
I like that quote.
And right before he was on my podcast, NASA just published one of his papers, you know what I mean? And he's a scientist, and he's great. Like, like both of them. So it's like, it's like, oh yeah, if you stop at every barking dog, it's like, everyone's gonna have the opinion. That's why when I do something, like I do my best not to tell people what I'm doing, because when you tell people what you're doing, the brain is just a tool. It doesn't know the difference between if you've done it or not. But if you don't say anything and you're building up this chi, and you're building up this energy, and you're building up this excitement, and you're on the discovery with self, and you're going into the unknown, then you can become solid like an oak tree. So then when you go to share with someone that you love, who you care about, when people are questioning you, then you don't feel like you have to explain yourself and get frustrated, because how can you explain something and you're frustrated when you haven't really fully developed it yourself? Like, instead of enjoying the gift for yourself first, it dissipates by sharing it with others, because you want to share the exciting thing. But other people, you have to be able to protect your energy and protect your ideas, because other people, not that they're having ill will or bad intention, let's just act like we're telling people who are our friends, they're going to have questions, because people are curious by nature, and we're just going to ask questions. But I'm not going to have all the answers to that thing yet, because I'm still birthing it. I'm still creating it.
I think a lot of people want validation before they do anything. I'm the same. I just go out and do something. I'd rather fail, and I don't even. And if no one's laughing at me, then I don't think I'm trying hard enough.
Yeah. So the thing about that is, like, when we go somewhere and we want the validation, that's insecurity. It's people pleasing. So the thing is, it's like, if it comes up and you're aware of validation, it's like, who what am I doing? I'm wanting this to be validated. Why do I need this to be validated by someone external outside of me? I don't. I want to validate myself. Like when I show up somewhere, I'm like, I went to after party, an IRL, the very first in person arts and music festival just a few weeks ago. And everyone, it was so windy, like so windy. It was partly outside and inside and outside. And like these like people are wearing these like high stilettos. And I went in sweats and sneakers, and I had so much fun. And everyone's running up to me like, oh my God, you look so comfortable. Like you look so good. Like, I'm going to go home and change, or I wish I would have wore this, or tomorrow I'm going to wear this. Like, but they're not only dressing up for themselves, but they're like, oh, but I wanted to wear sneakers. I want it. And I'm like, well, yeah, go ahead. But they have the illusion impression that they need to look good for other people. But if you look and feel good for yourself, other people are going to see that. And I want to make sure I'm feeling good so I don't get sick. I want to make sure I'm feeling good so my body's not sore the next day. And I want to make sure I'm feeling good so when I'm dancing, I'm not like tripping over heels or like, like uncomfortable. So I want to feel and look good. I mean, you could apply that to any situation. Like I need to validate myself only. I don't need validation from other people. And I say this so specifically because I did need validation from other people before. I was a people pleaser. I traveled the world asking how to be successful. Jump, how high? Left, how long? What do I do? Up, down, in between? And I would go and listen. And people were like, here's a bone. Go run after it. And I would go and do it. But most of the time, the people who have these ideas of, they're just telling you their experiences, but they don't know your destiny and what you're aligned to. They're just like giving you the best advice because you're asking. That's if they're even willing. That's why some people just won't even give advice because they don't want to put themselves in a position, But sometimes when you go ask people for something, and then most of the time, the people don't go do it. Like Shane Salk, he was on my podcast. He has Carcerum, the series. It's like a really popular fantasy audio drama podcast with Bill Holmes. So they're in my voiceover community. And Shane was saying like, he would go to meet these people and he would go and do the things and he would come back and they were like, oh, well, I didn't really think you were going to go do it. Like they really don't have something for you. They just say, go do this to kind of get you off their back. But then they're not there to actually like help you. Not everyone, but just some brushstrokes of experience.
So if people want to try it, they should just do it basically. And could I ask, could I go back a bit? I mean, if people want to get into NFTs, I'm saying they should just do it. They shouldn't just be waiting until the whole world's doing it and then say, okay, now I'll do it because everyone else is doing it. So can I go back a bit? So, I mean, you're obviously very technical because a lot of artists are probably waiting for the whole world to be doing NFTs before they even dip their toe in. But what was your life that brought you up to this point? And then suddenly in 2018, you said, wow, this is something. I mean, what actually what was kind of, your story going up to there?
Yeah, I've just always been open-hearted, open-minded, and curious to try anything once. So I do stand-up, I do voiceovers, comedy, drama, like on-screen acting, comedy, drama, video games, commercials, DJing, different kinds of music, traveling the world, different cultures, like, meeting all different kinds of people. So that I've always just been curious like that, and reading, and I love audiobooks, but I always just been into those kind of things. And I think because I'm just such a yes and kind of person that I have an eclectic relationships with people. And so when I get invited to something like, oh, hey, come check out this, come do this, I'm like, okay, cool. Like if I feel it, like I listen to the intelligence of my body. If I'm like, no, like I just don't do it. But if I'm like, yeah, then I'll go and check it out. And that just by showing up, it leads to the unknown, and it leads to the next person I'm going to meet, or something that I'm going to see and want to be a part of, or, something, it kind of stems from that. But the worst thing is, when you say no and you don't show up, and we just cut ourselves off from different opportunities.
So you've always looked at like new things and new technologies and new ways of doing things. You've just gone for it. So blockchain and that was just one of those things you saw and you said, I'm going to try this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
And I was ever since I was a kid, I just always thought I was like really ahead of my time. Like I remember when I was a kid, I was like, I don't like wires. Like I loathe the wires. I'm not into wires. And I remember when I was a kid, I was like, yo, when's everything going to be wireless? And now like a lot of things are wireless. The other thing that hasn't happened yet, but I was wondering since I was a kid, and you'll be the first person I tell this to. So I'll give you a laugh here, but they happen with wires, with wireless, everything. I'm like, when's everything going to be wireless? And these are wireless, but now I'm on my system here. So it's not because I'm with my mic, but these are Bluetooth wireless. But when I was a kid, I was also asking, when are we going to be able to transport food and smell through the electronics? Like you're eating something, I'm like, oh, I want that. And it comes through. I've always been wondering, when are we going to be able to do that? So if it happens in our lifetime.
It's nearly here now with Kana. It's nearly here with Kana.
Okay.
There's a company called Kana, which is doing it for drinks. And that's here now. It's already been done.
Okay.
It's not, I don't think you can buy it in the shop yet, but it's been made.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Oh, great. Yeah.
So your prediction's coming true.
Yeah. So, but that's happened like a lot. Like everything since I was a kid, I was always like wondering when like something is going to finally happen, like certain things, like those kind of things.
So you've got very predictive, like mind. And so this is maybe a good segue to go into, and here you might have to, because you're a very open person, but imagine if you're not so open as you are.
Yeah.
And how would you where do you see like what's NFTs and digital art? What's it going to change in the world? And how is it going to change the way that people behave and think about things in your opinion going forward?
Great question. Important question. Okay. First and foremost, there's a lot of gluttony in the world. It's like, how many sunglasses do you need? 30 pairs of sunglasses? How many suits do you need? How many shoes do you need? I've been to these, homes where they're estate sales and you go into them in like Bel Air and Beverly Hills and stuff. And it's like, it's so much like, people who practice minimalism, and it's better for the environment, not so much consumerism, having digital assets. I think it's going to be quality over quantity, which is, that's how things are. It's like quality over quantity, And so I feel like also, for example, it's like, let's say I'm going to go to a Britney Spears concert or any kind of concert like I like, right? I remember my first concert was Korn when I was a kid. Korn with the K. And it's like, I went to this Korn concert. And it's like, I saw all these people. I'm like, oh, these are my people. Or if I went to Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears when I was a kid, it's like, oh, these are my people. But then when I go home, and I'm in my, town and I'm walking around the mall, I'm like, these people, like, these aren't my people. Where are my people at? So, and now with social media and technology and, you don't know who to believe or what's a bot or who's scamming you, you don't know. So I feel like these communities that are being built, they're being tailored for you, like whatever your interests are. Like, let's say you're into horses, or let's say you're into race cars. Like there are communities being built that are specifically for those kind of people. And like you're a part of you have the digital assets. So that means you're a part of the community. And then the roadmap is like, there's IRL events, or there's like once a month events, or something you would naturally buy a ticket to, something that you're naturally doing, except when you show up with your companion, your solo or your companion, whoever you take with you, you're going to be around a collective of people who share the same value and interest, which is really exciting because then these are your friends. And then these are also people you can do business with, right? So I'm a part of this collective called Astro Emojis, right? It's the first mental health and wellness festival project on the blockchain. And they have a mental health and wellness festival monthly. They just had the first one. The second one's going to be this month, and it's every month. And I'm curating, supporting and helping curate different speakers at these events, like someone who'd go to Burning Man or Lightning in a Bottle. And you go, and they have a partnership with Wim Hof, the famous Wim Hof technique.
Yeah, I do the old Wim Hof ice and breathing techniques quite often.
See, you do Wim Hof. So you would probably, since you like Wim Hof, and I like Wim Hof, and we're on the show together right now, there's also other unknown things where it's like, oh yeah, I like this, or I like this, or I want to go here, I want to go there. So let's say you have Astro Emojis, NFT. Then you're a part of the festival every month. You're meeting different people. There's different events, things happening, and you would like to be a part of those. And then you also meet people in the community. Like I met this one girl, and she's lives in Detroit, and she's a part of Astro Emojis, and it's where I'm from. And it's like, there's other people, like my friend Robert Sturman, I brought him on to be a speaker, and he does Wim Hof. He has an ice bath at his home 4 times a week. So these are like-minded things that we're already doing, but that we can be with the collective and do them together instead of feeling so isolated and alone that we don't have someone to do them with.
I do like that, because that's one of the things that I actually believe is, because I'm trying to figure out what is the future of all this. And I think that people are going to have, like you said, NFTs, which represent different parts of their personality or even just hobbies or skills. So, like I might have a Wim Hof NFT and another NFT for like the mental health NFT and another one and another one. And just by having possession of those, I can then be matched with other people. And that's something that you can't do today, because that data was just owned by Facebook or Google. So they know it, but no one else does. But with using like MetaMask or something, it can, as soon as you connect your wallet to MetaMask, it can see you have this NFT, this NFT, this NFT. Oh, you're this type of person, and it can connect you to other like-minded individuals. Yes, sorry, continue. It was just interesting.
Oh yeah, no, 1000%. Everything you're saying, yes, 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 yes. I mean, and you, to your point of what you're saying, what people were saying earlier is like, I was on the phone with this woman. I won't say the name of who or which book publishing company, but it's a huge book publishing company. And I met her at a podcast event about 8 weeks ago. My friend Robert Greenlee, he's the VP of brand partnerships at Libsyn. He took me to this event on air, like pod air, on fest air. It was in Brooklyn about 8 weeks ago. And I met this woman, and they represent podcasts, and they take books and put them into podcasting. And now she's like the VP of like finding books and like getting people book deals. And she's like, if you know any stories, and then giving them podcasts, right? And of these like unique dynamic stories. And she was telling me she was around when the internet happened, and she remembered what everyone was saying about the internet, and she's still here now. And I'm consulting her and sharing her how she can turn books into NFTs.
Wow, interesting.
And podcasts into
I was
NFTs.
around I wasn't around when the internet was made, because that was in the 60s, but I was around when the web kind of started up in the 90s. And basically everyone, including myself, was like, is this ever going to be anything? Because, and people, and in those days, people were just because I think when any new medium comes along, and it's the same that's happened with NFTs. Like with NFTs, people have taken images to NFTs, but NFTs are really more like digital tickets or identifiers, and the real use cases don't come until a few years later, And so when your friend is digitizing books as NFTs, that's actually quite a good idea. I hadn't even heard of that, but people are going to try different things.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. And it's cool because with like podcasting, you can release the full episode, or let's say it's just you solo. You don't have to think about it, but let's say you have a guest on. So I have everything set up. I can put on any distribution platform whatsoever. But the kind of person I am, I could very well contact the person and say, I'm going to gift you 10% of, the NFT sale. And then 20% is going to this nonprofit. Right. So you could literally take an episode if it's with a guest, and you could, instead of just being one full podcast, you can break them up into different NFTs of different segments of topics like us. Like however we're talking about, you could say, oh, this clip is an NFT, this 2-minute clip, this 5-minute clip, this 7-minute clip, this 3-minute clip. And you can break up each episode into multiple NFTs.
Yeah, I should actually do that. I hadn't thought of that. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Yeah. And then like there could be like utilities where you give someone or a brand, as long as it ethically goes along with your message and your intention of who you are, you could give their brand a shout out on your podcast, right? Or something like that. So there's different things you can offer them. Depends like what you have to offer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's interesting because I think I've only made like, I mean, I'm invested in the space of NFTs, because I've done a few like tech investments and things, but and I've made like one NFT myself,
Yeah.
only one
Congratulations.
like only one NFT, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I
Where'd you
think the
release
thing
it?
is, I think I put it on. I think I put it on Mintable. I put one on Mintable. Maybe I made two and then one on OpenSea. And the thing is, I'm trying to like make sure that I'm not just putting NFT. The reason I haven't put many up is I don't want to just put them up there just because I think I'm going to make money from it. Because firstly, the chances I probably won't if I just do that. I want to actually put them up because there's, there's a story I want to tell. Like
Yeah.
I want people to be part of my club, or I want them to do this or to do that, and that's why I mean, a lot of people have just said to me, "Oh, make an NFT, make an NFT." I said, "Look, hold on. Do you even know what an NFT is?" And they said, "No, don't just make it because you'll make money out of it, and I'll be your manager or whatever." And I'm like, "No." I said,
Hilarious.
I think because a lot of people in the space, what they've done is like here in Europe at least, they've seen a few newspaper articles about a kid who's made like $1 million in like a month from
Mm-hmm.
NFTs,
Mm-hmm.
and they seem to think, "Oh, that was easy." Like everything looks easy when you don't have to do it. Yeah, when someone else
Well,
has done
everyone
it.
has their own story to tell. Who knows? I mean, that person probably had a, impactful story, and people
Yeah,
had compassion for
exactly.
it, and
Yeah,
that's what moves people.
exactly. But and the
And it's
people who,
difficult to be vulnerable. So, I've been practicing vulnerability for years. So,
mm,
but maybe my whole life.
practice
Yeah.
it, being vulnerable or being deliberately vulnerable or just putting yourself out there.
Well, I've always like put myself out there, but I
Mm,
sometimes it's controlled of putting myself out there of how I want people to see me, but being able to just really put myself out there. And sometimes people see us in ways we don't see ourselves.
mm,
Sometimes people see us in ways where we're not showing certain
mm,
vulnerabilities
mm,
of who we are and how we are,
mm,
because we're so attached to the illusion of what we perceive about ourselves or what
mm.
we want other people to perceive about ourselves. So sometimes it's difficult, to let go of that. But it's always been a practice of mine, an awareness and a practice of mine. Yeah.
Does that happen? I mean, do a lot of people who are acting, do they kind of, are you saying they kind of forget to be themselves?
Well, I
There's so
can't
much
speak
in
for other
character.
people, but I can't speak for other people in what they do. But um, when I get a role in a project, I get into it. I'm like this research person, and I
Mm,
look at the tone of the show. Is it a show? Is it a comedy drama? Is
mm,
it a movie? Who's
mm,
the director? What have they directed? Have I seen their
mm,
movies? Is there a
mm,
film that maybe I want to watch prior
mm,
to getting involved? Who are the
mm,
casting directors? Um, how much time do I have? What's the
mm,
material? And then I start being very physical after I do the data work, the research. I start to become very physical. Like, what would this character wear? And I start from like the ground up, and I start accessorizing, and I start embodying on a physical level the character. And I need to call my mom immediately and have her run lines with me just
mm,
back and forth, because the language to get it out of my mouth and my tongue, sometimes it could be the way that I speak, but sometimes it can be written in a way that like a scientist or a doctor. Maybe I'm
mm,
using words and
mm,
languages that I don't know. So I need to be more physical and get it
mm,
out. And then I start preparing, and I go all for it. But then after I put it on tape, I dismantle everything and I just leave it. And I just leave it at the doormat. So I'll get fully immersed into it. But then as soon as my work's done, I'll have to get rid of it, because if I hold on to it, it's very torturous. It's
That kind
not
of
good.
reminds me of someone I saw on some US show, and they said, "Which of your movies is your favorite one?" And they say, "I don't know. I've never seen any."
Oh yeah, yeah. I hear actors who do that too. I haven't seen some of the stuff I've been in. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. So I mean, if I can go back to like technology stuff, a little bit in that, um, there's a big difference between what's happening here in Europe and what's happening in America, and also in other, like in Asia. I think all of this digital art and NFTs, they're a lot bigger than they are here. But do you see that it's going to change the industry in at least like Hollywood, for example? like everyone has everyone has an agent at the moment. Do you see that all of this like NFTs and digital stuff is going to change how Hollywood works? And I
Great
mean,
question. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm
no,
just
no,
saying
no.
it's
So
great.
that is a question. Do you see it's going to change it? I mean, like when you just see like
Yeah.
YouTube artists. I mean, I just saw like someone showed me Mr. Beast the other day, and I was
Um,
like, and I just thought, is this some kid? And they said, yeah, this is a really successful YouTuber, and I was like, oh wow. And then they, and all these other people, and I didn't even know about them, and all these TikTokers and all that. I mean,
yeah.
is it that? I mean, I know that a lot of people who've been on these platforms, like people who are on YouTube, for example, in the beginning, people have been able to sustain themselves. But as time goes on, it kind of is a race to the bottom and people just can't, sustain themselves anymore. I mean, and this is, I'm not sure if this is a question or me just talking now, but I think one of the good things I see with NFTs is it might be the first time where it's going to give artists a chance to own their own work.
Very
And
much so. Being a sovereign
yeah,
being. Love that.
there's a
Love it.
question here
Yeah.
somewhere, but maybe you can like figure
Yeah.
out what the question was and answer.
Well, a couple thoughts. I was introduced to Rad NFT TV, and they are so rad. I love them. Rad's very cool. And we've had a couple conversations, but I've uploaded 49 different pieces of content to Rad so far, and we're going to roll them out. Spoken word music videos I've directed, produced, music videos I've starred in. I made a short film, 2 short films through SAG Foundation or through SAG. I did an improv series. There's 3 seasons. So I'm going to be rolling them out strategically, but I think I'll be the very first artist to have a web series on the blockchain
Wow.
in the coming months. Yeah. So they were telling me like they have partnerships with like PlayStation and Sony, I believe, but they were telling me like, Hollywood's still like 5 years out. Right. So it's like from, but what happens
What do you mean
is
they're 5 years out? Do you mean it's 5
before
years
they're going to,
before they
yeah,
embrace this?
I think so. But I mean, people are already having talks. People are already like doing things. But the thing is, for example, like Julie Pacino, she's, an acquaintance of mine in the space, and she had a project from the Madonna Inn. There, it's photography, and they sold out. And she is raising funds, base only crypto funds, and she's shooting a film this June, which is coming up, and taking away the model of Hollywood and raising funds through the blockchain, through crypto,
Wow.
and financing films that way. There's this director who is going to be on my podcast really soon. Her name is Jordan, and she's won an Academy Award, through Hollywood and everything like that. But on January 26th, she released Red Flags on OpenSea, and it was a short film. So, and I know I just saw something recently, like Julie and her partnered up and they're doing something. This woman, Josephine, who's in Europe, she's doing a bunch of things in film. There's a film group that I'm in, of women filmmakers. And so that's really exciting. So people are already taking action. There's this one person, she was in Crash. Her name is Jennifer. I don't know who she is. I think she's Greek because I went to her page and there's like all these Greek people on it. But my friend Sabat, he sold 3 NFTs, and those 3 NFTs sold, and they were to raise funds for a project through the blockchain, a film. And I think they've already shot it. So there are people taking action already to raise funds through the blockchain. My friend Jesse Bergstein, he did this amazing documentary recently. I think it was in the Congo. I haven't seen it yet, but I know he may very well be the first documentary. I was going to say one of the first documentaries, but he's probably the first documentary on the blockchain. So there are people taking action and doing things. I released a spoken word music video that I directed and produced on the blockchain a few weeks ago because what was it a part of? Oh, so I've been a part of like 7 different collaborations with different NFT artists. And so there was this biggest exhibition, NFT exhibition at South by Southwest. And 3 of my pieces were in those exhibitions, which was really, really cool. And that was with Searchlight. And then the month before that, they had one called Domance, and where they were showing my spoken word, but it was me as an actor doing spoken word poetry, but I also directed and produced it. So it's really exciting. On Rad NFT TV, you can have your own channel. So I'm taking some of my friends who are TikTokers.
What is this? I haven't heard of this. What is it?
Yeah, it's called Rad NFT TV that I mentioned a moment ago. But like I can arrange so you can have your own channel and you can have your podcast on Rad NFT TV. And so you can, I can give you your own channel, how like an influencer, a TikToker would have their own channel. You can have your own channel on Rad NFT TV. So I have my own channel on Rad NFT TV, and I'm giving other people, and I've actually talked to Hollywood a couple times, onboarding and educating people, actors, you know, but it's just like so over their heads. They have no idea what's going on, which is fascinating because for me, I don't see seems normal because it's not at all. It's very, very exciting. But just because I've just been like breathing, living it every single day.
So
I guess
future of Hollywood is basically being ignored by Hollywood, or they just, there's so much. Would you say that people are resisting it, or it's just slow to change?
I see more of the resistance in the music world with musical artists. I see more resistance there because they're already so excited, like so into successful in Web 2. Why go to Web 3? But I definitely see a lot of musicians step into the place and cross over, like Nas. You know, he was the first artist with Royal, Blau's company, Join Royal. I think it may be Join Royal, but I like to say Royal. But he transferred over. I think Diplo is doing something with Royal now, Blau's company I just saw. So I think there's been some resistance in music, be it because it's like a free for all, but music's always been a free for all. With the union, there's like the SAG, like, you know, AFTRA and things like that nature. But the other thing I wanted to mention, which is really exciting, is voiceovers, right? And so because of these generative projects, a lot of them are animation. I think it's a really big opportunity. I think voiceover artists are going to blow up in the space next. Like right now, music and fashion are really, and poetry are really like taking off. But I think voiceovers are really going to take off because like, Hello Sunshine, Reese Witherspoon's production company, they just did a deal.
He's very big into NFT in the NFT space and
Reese,
like crypto space. Yeah.
Reese.
Yeah. She's trying to get into it in a big way.
Yeah, I've been in the rooms, like when the announcement happened, I saw the article in Variety, and like I was in the rooms when everyone was talking about it. But so I think they're gonna like take those NFTs and make them an animation cartoon.
Oh wow!
And
basically, everyone's going to be doing this in Hollywood soon. Not just Hollywood. I think actually maybe
it's already happening.
But
there's already deals. There's already deals. Okay. There's already like CryptoPunks. It was in Hollywood, like 4 or 5 Hollywood Reporter, like 4 or 5 months ago. CryptoPunks grabbed a deal with like UTA or one of the big agencies to be represented by them. I mean, yeah.
I think it could democratize funding for films. I mean, this is something I'd be excited by because at the moment, I mean, it's like Silicon Valley. Like Silicon Valley now, it's not really the center of the tech world anymore. It's just been democratized by
everyone went to Miami.
Sorry?
Everyone went to Miami.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure. I heard they went to Austin and other places, and Miami is one of them, is it?
Yeah. Well, the mayor said around this time last year, he's like, how can I help? You know, because San Francisco, it was being shut down. And the mayor tweeted like, I'm here. How can I help? And like a lot of people went to Miami.
That's kind of crazy because America is so big. I mean, for me, like being in Europe, thinking someone's going to move from California to Miami is like it almost feels like a totally different country. They're so far away from each other.
Yeah. I love both places.
Okay. How are you doing for time? Because I know we've gone over the...
I'm good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, what would you... So I think we've talked a lot about the stuff you're doing in this space and your history and where you see things going. And and about like NFTs and all this digital art. I mean, making, well, it's going to be big. It's becoming big, and it's going to get bigger. And I think, as we said earlier, I mean, like for me, it's that people will be owning their own work, which is a big thing. And
It's so great.
yeah, and
So it's like this for like anyone, an artist or anyone. It's like if you're a non-union actor,
what do you mean non-union? Could you define that for the audience? Because even I'm not sure what it means.
Oh, okay. So if you're in SAG-AFTRA, you're in the union.
Okay.
The Screen Actors Guild, you're a union. So let's say I do a commercial. I get my base fee. Then every time they play it, I get a fee, a residual. And then after 13-week cycle, if they want to use it, they have to pay me that fee plus the residuals. But with non-union, they could say, oh, we're giving you a 1-year deal, or it's in perpetuity, which is forever. And you just get that one fee. That's the difference between union and non-union. There's, how you're protected and how the contracts are.
So does this mean that some people who might have done a really important part in a film that does really well might get almost nothing? If they're not in a union? How does it affect you? Does it mean if you're not in a union, you'll generally get paid less? If you're not in the Screen Actors Guild.
Well, you said like a great movie, but I mean any movie could be a great movie and not be union or non-union. But I'm just like, if there's, I mean, if it's Warner Brothers or Paramount, if it's, through there, it's probably a union movie. And then they're going to get residuals when it plays in foreign, it's going to be you're going to get paid. But if you're doing a movie where it's not union, then maybe it can play in Europe and Asia and everywhere, and you're not going to get those royalties and residuals.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. I have to admit, I don't know the details of how it works so much. But it's interesting. So is that, do you think that sort of thing will change? Because some people are worried that all of these NFTs and everything, that once big companies and studios get onto it, they'll just basically, buy up the rights for everything, even if it's with NFTs, and they'll just maybe switch to managing NFT artists and taking a commission from them and stuff. Like 10% from every NFT they ever have. So do you think it could even just turn into the same thing we have today, but the bigger players just get even bigger and artists can still get screwed?
I think the companies, when they onboard and they get involved, I think they'll have their own smart contracts. And so like you, me, anyone to be a sovereign being and to own the rights and independence is smart to have our own smart contracts, which you can do. Like Manifold XYZ is a place where someone could do their own smart contract. But what happens is, like, if you put it on a marketplace like OpenSea, they take a percentage. They don't take a percentage from the artist who puts their work up. They take a percentage from the collector and they pay the gas fees. So then there's different marketplaces you can put it on, and you're using their smart contracts. But if you have your own smart contract, you can have it go to your own marketplace, your own website, where they do first sales on the smart contract. And that's the contract. And then if it goes to secondary, it's in your smart contract of what the percentages would be. And then it could go to a secondary market like OpenSea.
Yeah. Okay. I think I see what you're saying. I mean, but there's also another part to it, in that if you're an NFT artist, you still will need you'll still need help from someone to help to market and how to, like, you might need promotion and stuff for your work and things.
Okay.
So you could still get a thing where you could have maybe it's in the smart contract where the managers also link to it, and they still. Because I don't think NFT means that you can't have someone taking a cut out of your work. You can still, it might not be OpenSea. It could just be a manager taking a cut, or a manager and OpenSea.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah. I mean, it can go in so many different directions. So let's say, for example, I have a curation I'm doing, and I'm working with other NFT artists, and I'm consulting them. But I can do what I do, short-term, medium-term, long-term, as a producer, creator, and have them in the mix of my projects, and I'm consulting and onboarding them. But then I have a partner who does marketing, and her partner, they know Discord and they know social media, and I don't do those things. So then that partner can get a percentage, whatever you negotiate. Like, they get percentages, which is a good percent, because marketing social media, like that's super important unless you already have a following and a community of people who know you. Yes, to have different instruments of the team where they get like a percentage of that. You always want to make sure you have like a community pot where like a percentage goes to the community, right? For the people who are going to be a part of this long term, because you're only going to have X amount of NFTs. And when that's done, you want to make sure you have some of the percentages go to that pot. So then you can honor and serve the roadmap, whatever that is.
Okay.
But yeah. And then to give you more easier example, I guess, than union or non-union, it would be like if you're a physical painter or an photographer, an artist, and you go and you're desperately wanting someone to represent you. You don't have to have your self-worth, be messed with. You don't have to like think about someone outside of yourself. Like, oh, do you align with my work? Will you represent my work? Because I can take my own work and put it on the marketplace, and I can just cut that out. Now, the other thing is like, am I going to work with the gallery directly? Or do I have a broker who's an art dealer who represents me and then has his or her clientele to get my work out there? And then they take a commission, and then the gallery takes a commission, and then I never see money again. That's more of a non-union actor, right? When you're like selling a piece of your artwork and someone takes a commission, the gallery takes commission, you get a commission, and then the collector has it, and the collector can then go and sell it however they wish, and you never get a secondary sale from that. With the blockchain and the smart contracts, when you sell something, when the collector buys it, when they resell it and they resell it and they resell it, every time it resells, you get a percent. I put 10%. A lot of people put 10%. You can put whatever you want. But anytime it sells and resells, I get that 10%.
That's
always.
Amazing. That is amazing. That was one of the things that made me think, this is something.
So that's the difference between being a union and a non-union actor. A union actor gets those percentages. So, and that's the cool thing about the blockchain, because you can put the percentage that you get after the initial sale, and you don't know, and you might not be here. I might not be here, but it's like generational wealth. It could go to your grandchildren and things of that nature, or to a foundation that you chose.
So it means that anyone who's like selling their work, and if they can sell it, like maybe someone does something for a movie, and the studio buys that as an NFT, then that person will get resale. Right? It's like everyone's in the union, but their own union. They decide the terms.
Exactly. It's
that makes sense.
It's more of a community. It's not like, oh, why are all these people, they, them, like getting all of this money and then I'm not, it's been unbalanced of where funds are going to, where funds are going,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I think I've asked everything I wanted to ask, but what about yourself, Katie? Like, what's the future for you? I mean, you've said you're doing some NFT stuff, but do you, up till next year, but do you see like you're going to get more involved with the digital work and stuff going forward for the next few years? Like what's your vision?
Yeah, I'm really excited to my focus right now is to book a lead into animation series and get on TV as a household name. And so I think by doing that, it's really going to help with my brand and more people to know, like, not only see my work and know more about my NFTs, but then I'm going to have a new paint studio and create new works and have physical paintings and physical paintings and put them as NFTs. So like there'll be X amount of NFTs, but then one special person like will get the one of one where they're actually getting the physical with the NFT.
Okay. And also about where people can find you. I think you've shared me some. You can just let them know. There's quite a few links, and I have to post them in the show notes as well.
Yeah, totally. And I have it's called a pink sheet that I created. So it's divine feminine energies that I respect and admire of people I learn from. So when you go to chonacas.com and you put in your email, it has an automation set up where it sends you the pink sheet of people you can follow in the space, and you can just be in their rooms, in their Twitter rooms, and you can just like see what they're posting, like what they're posting about, what they're talking about, like sharing wealth of information of people who aren't gatekeepers, people who give information in ethical ways, people I respect and admire. So it's ongoing. I'm building it out. And yeah, so I have a pink sheet set up. I also have an automation of my Lover's Fairy Tale poetry book. It's a playlist, and it's also a sheet of like a Web3 lingo of like, certain words and things that, people can get to know. So I have that set up by just going to chonacas.com. And then anyone who listens to this podcast, who's listening or watching right now, and if they go to my merch store and buy some merch and say it came from your podcast, then I will give them a shout out on my podcast.
Okay, great.
So
thanks.
yeah, so chonacas.com, and it's a way they can support me,
Okay.
and I feel loved that way when people are like representing, what my heart and soul is all about, if you vibe with it. But also, yeah, She's All Over the Place podcast. We have over 80 episodes. It's an official NFT podcast. Season 4 is right now. It's a women empowerment series, and it's exploring divine femininity on all genders. So yeah, those are the ways people can find me and connect with me.
Okay, and I'll make sure I post those in the show notes as well. Okay, so it's been great to talk to you today, and I've enjoyed it, and I've learned quite a lot actually about the business. I mean, sometimes you have to excuse my ignorance about how a lot of the industry works and how Hollywood works, because I'm mostly a techie. I just don't know sometimes.
Oh no, you're great. But I mean, that's why we connect, so we can learn and grow with one another. And I would love to come back any time, because it's evolving and everything's happening so quick. It's like in one day, it's like, it could feel like a year. It's like, wow. And the thing is, there's no experts, and there's nothing like set in stone. It's being built now. And there's things that have been built and they crash and they fall, but then we learn from those things that didn't work, but if we just, have acceptance and, a lot of forgiveness and compassion, and, connect with people and just do your own research, like just learn as much as possible. It's not like an overnight kind of thing, but a lot's happening very fast. And the cool thing is, since it's such a new space, it's like being in a new world, that like anything is possible. Like any idea, like whoever's listening to this, and like any idea that you have, yes. And it's not gatekeeping. It's not saying no, it's yes. And it's like, okay, how can we make that happen? And people are excited. And if they can't help you, they're like, oh, I know someone who's doing that, or I know someone who would love to be a part of that. And so it's finding, like, knowing your weakest links, and then like being vulnerable and telling people about it. And they're being like, oh, like, let me nurture that. Let me help that. I know someone who can do it. And it's about helping one another. So that it's really fun, and I think I'm really excited about that. But yeah, the cool thing is, like, Jim Quick, two things. Jim Quick says, like, when you're a student, you learn, right? But when you're a teacher, you get to learn twice. So like everything so everything I'm sharing right now is just like something that was taught, and then I get to teach it again, and so I get to be more endowed with the teachings. And
I think this whole podcast is for me to learn. This whole podcast is so I can learn from you.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is with my podcast too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, when I started this 6 months ago, I knew I needed to learn, in detail, like this whole crypto space. I mean, even though I was involved earlier, I was not. I was kind of like one of these surface people, And now I'm like, look, I don't want to just look at the apple. I want to taste the apple and understand how it works.
Yeah. Well, that's what 50 says in the 50th law that he did with Robert Greene. He's like, why be a spectator on the bench? He's like, no, get on the court and play. Start messy and just do it. But it's so cool that you started a podcast and you're learning about it, because not only are you learning about it for you, you're holding so much space for people. So you're being like a leader and holding space so they can learn too. I mean, it's awesome. I think it's great.
Thanks a lot. I hope so. Anyway, I'll close it off now. So thank you very much for today.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah. Thanks for having me.